Welcome to the Overland Sea podcast. Today we are talking about the game at home to Crystal Palace. Andrew, we got 3 points. I mean, just tell me what you thought about the game. I mean, the points speak for themselves, the win speaks for themselves. But what did you think of the game and the overall performance?
Made it difficult for ourselves. Again, had a number of chances in the first half that we didn't take. That, okay, maybe they're not cast iron chances, but you got to be taking one of them. Again, it was a set piece, I believe, that cost us at the other end. So obviously, we're giving teams a lot of confidence with that, but we got the pen, and it was cast iron pen. I don't know what the ref was thinking. Even tell from the Crystal player's Crystal Palace player's reaction, um, that he knew he cocked it up. So fine, we got the points. Scored a pen, scored a good other goal that we got a bit of luck because the Crystal Palace defender fell over. I think we need a bit of luck. Good goal from Mudryk. Well taken pen from Madueke. Was a little bit nervous that he was throwing his toys out the pram to get the penalty. But he took it and he scored it. So as long as it went in, fine. What did you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you've said. I never understand it when players are arguing over penalty takers, but then again, we didn't have Cole Palmer on the pitch. Mudryk had gone off and Cuckoo had gone off. Um, so I thought Conor Gallagher was going to take it, and I actually think he went over to the bench to discuss that as they were doing the review. But yeah, clearly there was some debate over who was taking the penalty. But I'd love to know who Conor wanted to take the penalty if it was him himself. Um, I thought the Mudryk goal was a good goal. I thought a lot of that was down to Gusto with his little turn around about the halfway line, I think it was, to get up the wing. And then he sort of runs a nice sort of channel and overlaps to the far side of the penalty box to pick up the loose ball again. And he actually got man of the match today, which I thought was well deserved. Mum, dad, and I were having a chat about that on the way back to the car about his performance and who we thought would have been man of the match, and his name came up. It was a scrappy game, and I find it weird that in the scrappy game we've actually we've got 3 points where I think in other games we look more controlled, played better, and haven't got the 3 points. And I guess that's football. I thought there was a severe lack of movement from the team. It didn't help certain players in certain positions. And it just brings me back, even the guys that I was sitting next to at the game today, like we were talking about what's our identity as a football team and how do we play. I feel like that still is up in the air. Um, I thought a couple of players had some good games. Others I think struggled a lot. But Palace are a very physical team, very big team, and we knew it was going to be a tough test. What did you think about the way that we were trying to play and go at Crystal Palace?
I think again it was one of those where we looked a lot more dangerous in the counter than we do when we've got the ball and they're sort of back. We massively struggled with that again today, and all of the good chances that we had came really from the counter or when we were 2-1 up and Bro was making it runs in behind because they were slightly further up the pitch trying to press us higher up the pitch. Um, yeah, incredibly frustrating to watch us try and play against the low block. There's very little movement. No one really knows what they're doing. I feel like we almost need to be a team that invites, loses the ball almost on purpose at certain times, at calculated times, to get more of their team up the pitch, so that we then have a chance to counter attack them. And we need to be very quick when the goalkeeper does get the ball. We need to have outlets, and ones that he's looking for because he it was just a bit slow at times as well. Like even when Crystal Palace got forward, it felt like we almost were waiting for them to get back rather than throwing a quick ball. But yeah, we just seem to want to retain possession at all costs, which means a lot of the time that we end up losing it in dangerous positions where it's a midfielder losing it or a defender losing it rather than a forward losing it.
Yeah.
Which just causes a lot of problems. I mean, we are the masters of our own downfall a lot of the time. But I agree. I don't think we have a real style of play at the minute.
Because even the counter attack looks a bit laggy. It looked laggy today in certain places where, you know, players weren't sure whether they should be running. I mean, because I thought at times Palace were holding quite a high defensive line and we should be able to get in behind them. And it almost seemed that players didn't sort of realize that maybe that was an option or something they should be looking at doing. Um, you know, channels weren't being run into. So I think laggy's a good word to describe it. But and also, like you're right, the quick ball wasn't always there.
I think to be fair, they were doing runs in the first half. The balls weren't really coming. The midfield just seemed to like panic every time they had the ball, and a couple of players came closing down. They didn't really know what to do, especially in the second half when we weren't making runs, and it all got a bit panicky. And it was almost like Thiago Silva came on, played some long balls over the top, and they were just working. It's like, well, we could have done this earlier, but no one's actually looking for these runs. Like Noni, after he came on, was all on his own on the far side of the pitch.
Mm.
They played across the ball, and no one really played it. So I think part of it, I want to say, is obviously we've got Matson up top playing right wing. He's not a right winger.
No.
So I think he struggled at times. I think Mudryk and Kunku and Jackson linked up quite well for brief periods, but I think Crystal Palace worked that one out, and they basically were just closing them down, realizing that there wasn't a lot outside of them that we were going to do. There wasn't much of a threat. So I think that played into the hands quite well until Broja came on and changed things slightly in the way that he was attacking in terms of running in behind a lot more.
Mm.
But yeah, it does feel like we don't want to take that risk. A lot of times, players, I think, like Gusto does it quite a lot where he cuts back.
Yeah.
Probably run him on the outside, but he cuts back. And I don't know whether that's trying to retain possession, not backing Jackson or someone to be in the box, or what it is. But I think there's a few times where he needs to do it occasionally. Otherwise, the cutbacks are going to stop working because they're just going to expect him to do that.
Yeah.
And also, it'll work in the infrequent times he does it because they'll be expecting cutback. So he needs to sort of vary that up a little bit. I think it's difficult when he's playing on the left back, but I think he did it a few times when he was a right back, like a lot of times when he was a right back. And he's not the only one. Mudryk does it a lot.
I was gonna say, Dad said that about Mudryk as we're leaving the stadium, and just saying like, he always wants to go inside, so he becomes quite easy to defend, and sometimes he has a heavy touch, which then doesn't help the situation.
I don't. Yeah, the thing is, I don't think that's a problem if you have an actual left back that's overlapping.
Yeah,
Sometimes he gives it, and sometimes he takes it inside himself.
yeah, I
Uh,
agree with that.
but at the minute we don't have an overlapping left back, so
But we don't have a left back.
yeah,
Realistically, we don't have a left back.
we
So
kind of take it inside and it all gets in that congested area, which doesn't really make life any easier for us. It's a different one. I think we played relatively well, bearing in mind that Nkunku's played less than 90 minutes for the team. Well, we played 30 the other day, maybe.
mm,
Maybe played 60 today. So outside of, okay, he was good in pre-season with them, but it's not the same. There's not the same pressure in terms of players being at it and pressing in pre-season because it's largely fitness and tactics based. I think one of the things that caught us out after having a very good pre-season was just how much other teams changed their intensity, and I think ours stayed pretty much the same. We were just sort of at the intensity. We were playing at full intensity in pre-season and thinking we were doing really well, but other teams weren't like trying to play
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and I think you see good signs from sort of Nkunku coming in. Be interesting to see over the next few weeks with everyone sort of fit and not banned and whatever, who plays where and who drops out if someone drops out. Because obviously you've got Enzo, Caicedo, and I wouldn't drop Gallagher at all at the minute. So you kind of want to play three in midfield, but then if you've got Nkunku, Palmer, Sterling, Mudryk, Broja, Jackson, what combination is he going to go with? So I think
Well, he has said that because Nkunku's coming back from injury and to kind of get him used to the Premier League, he's going to play him in the number 10 role for a bit.
Okay, interesting.
Or maybe out wide, but predominantly number 10.
Yeah, I think that will solve a few problems. It's just whether that then causes problems in midfield.
Yeah,
But I think whoever is playing striker generally looks very isolated for us. Having Nkunku behind means that we're almost playing a second striker at times, and hopefully he won't be quite so isolated.
agreed.
But it might be at the detriment of the midfield. I think either you lose the creativity of Enzo, or you lose the sort of energy in the midfield of Caicedo and Gallagher. So I feel like Enzo doesn't really work in a two-man midfield at the minute because he's not as athletic as the other two.
Yeah, I've said that. I've said he's not that kind of box to box midfielder.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But fingers crossed Poch has got a good idea of what he wants.
Well, exactly. I think as well. I think not having Palmer on the pitch was a big miss today. You said Maatsen struggled. I think in some ways, actually not having Sterling there affected us as well to a certain degree. But we've got players coming back from injury. We've got players still injured. Lavia made his debut finally since we bought him in the summer. It's going to take him a while to gel in with the team. I won't lie, I wasn't overly impressed by him. I didn't think he came on with a lot of energy today, but maybe he's just also then trying to be careful. So I won't hold that fully against him. But yeah, I think overall, just getting the 3 points and being able to grind out a result speaks a lot at the moment.
Yeah, it's not something that we've done this season at all. Is
No.
not play it particularly well and come away with 3 points. I think there's been a lot of games where we've played quite well, made one mistake and lost 1-0. So I'm glad we got the first goal. Didn't really press on afterwards and get the second, and I think we knew that we were going to need to.
Yeah, I even after the first goal, I was like, we still need a second one. You still need a second one.
I think the set pieces at the minute, it's very unlikely we're not going to concede a set piece.
No, I agree. The set pieces aren't great, but at the same time, like you said, we're sort of not helping ourselves out if we're not going to do enough outfield to create something. Because I really was surprised with the lack of movement today and just the lack of options. Certain players did get isolated with the ball, and then we're having to pass backwards because so much of the slow play was telegraphed that Crystal Palace were able to either intercept or smother the player that was receiving the ball so quickly. And I just felt players needed to be a bit more active to offer something. There weren't a lot of players that I felt really were moving with intent to get into space to collect the ball. Everyone was sort of just standing still and expecting the ball to come to them. Um,
I think that's where we miss Cole Palmer big time. I think he's really, really good at that. Is
yeah,
picking players and finding spaces, whereas sort of everyone else was kind of like do something special with it, and very close to defenders and not really being available.
the only ones that I'd actually say I feel actually really made an effort to find space and move around a bit were the two main ones were Conor Gallagher and Gusto for me,
Yeah,
and thirdly Mudryk, but I wouldn't put him on the same level as Conor Gallagher and Gusto with that side of the game today.
yeah. I think Connor's the one that impressed me the most. I think Gusto did get forward. Um, more in that, it was just more in that second half, the last half hour. I think there was just very little movement until Broja came on, or even just the second half until sort of Broja came on and ran channels and gave options in behind. But yeah, there was not a lot from Nkunku and Jackson, and Matson just didn't really look like he knew what he was doing. Which, to be fair, he's playing in an unnatural position, so I don't blame him. And he
But he's
kind
playing an
of
unnatural position in a team that he's barely played in.
yeah, he also didn't have a proper right back behind him that was helping get beyond him to create some space for him. So
Well, no, because he had Gusto behind him.
the hospital pass, huh?
He had Gusto behind him.
Not in the second half. Or a fair.
No, I know what you mean at that point. In the first half he did, but I know what you mean by the second half, yeah.
No, he came off at the same time, didn't he? I think he came off at that point when Deserter went right back. Deserter went right back. I think him and Colwell came off at the same time.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
Um, yeah, he just didn't. He didn't have
No,
enough.
he struggled, and that's the thing where we said, we missed Cole Palmer there. Um, so at least we got Cole Palmer and Sterling rested for the next game. Um, I mean, I was slightly worried about the defense today. I mean, I don't think Badashil still had a great game today, and Caicedo seemed a bit lost on the ball and got caught on the ball a few times. But again, I put a lot of that down to the lack of movement. Yeah, he had no options on him, and no one was telling him when someone's coming up behind him. So I do feel sorry for him about that. There's only so much he can do. But I think Palace were able to isolate him really well today. Um, and no one really offered an awful lot to help him out. But yeah, there were glimpses moving forward. Still, definitely a lot of work to go on in the final third, I think. Um, but it's still a very good win, and it's 3 points that we needed. I think we're still what 12th
Probably.
around there, so nothing to really sing home about, but we'll take it. So your man of the match today?
It's Connor, I think. I don't think there's really any other choice.
Yeah, yeah. Connor and Gusto for me were the two main people. Yeah, the two main guys for me to get it. I was glad to see Gusto get it because obviously I thought he put in a really good shift. He had a lot of defensive work to do against some big players as well. I thought he handled his own, and he played right back and left back. He got the assist for the goal. So I mean, I think I could vote Conor Gallagher for the last three or four. I probably have. So it's nice to see someone else get it differently. But Conor is definitely up there in the conversation. If it had gone to Conor, I don't think anybody could have argued him getting that man of the match again.
Nope.
Anything else for this episode?
Nope. That's it.
Lovely stuff. Well, thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe, follow, comment, notification button, and stay tuned for the Luton away pre-game analysis.